Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It is Tuesday, April 8th, 7:36 p.m. Central Daylight Time, local time here in Texas. I'm on Highway 287 eastbound, making my way to Terrell, Texas. Going to pick up a load. And plans have changed. So we'll talk about the plan change. But I think I might record all the way until I get to the pickup location, which is going to be a couple of hours, probably a little over 2 hours. About 2 hours and 20 minutes maybe. So this is probably going to be about a 2.5 hour long video because I might record even after I get there. But I'm going to have to be pretty quick once I get there. I need to do the drop and hook really fast because I don't want to be running against my 14-hour clock. So I only have about an hour to do the drop and hook, which is really fast for me. It takes me 30 minutes to an hour to do a drop and hook because, inspecting the equipment, I have to, okay, so there are people that can do a drop and hook in 15 minutes because they don't inspect equipment. They don't do post-trip inspections. They don't do pre-trip inspections. They just don't do a whole bunch of things. If all I was doing was disconnecting and dropping the trailer and reconnecting, hook up to the trailer and taking off, yes, I could do a drop and hook in 15 minutes, but that's not what I do. I do a post-trip on the trailer that I'm dropping, and if there are any issues with the trailer, then I will notify either the agent or trailer maintenance so that they can send somebody out to fix it. Like, whenever I left the truck stop, I did an inspection, and the trailer was good. But things happen along the route. Something could happen by the time I get there, and maybe a light goes out or a tire goes flat or something, and I'll notify somebody so that it can get fixed before the next driver gets the trailer. That's very time consuming if there is an issue. But just also, whenever you drop trailers here, you have to slide the tandems to the rear and open the doors. So a post-trip inspection, slide the tandems, open the doors, park the trailer in a parking spot. Just that whole process, if everything goes smooth, is going to take about 15 minutes. And then then I have to find the other trailer, which involves walking around the parking lot, inspecting the paperwork on every single Landstar trailer until I find the load that I'm supposed to pick up. Now, luckily, this is not like some massive parking lot with hundreds of trailers. They do have a pretty big parking lot in the gated area, but outside the gated area where they leave the trailers to be picked up overnight, there are probably only about 30 to 40 trailers. Just a second here. There's a flatbed that has been annoying me for over an hour. This person cannot figure out how fast they want to go. I caught up to them to pass them an hour ago, and when I went to pass them, they sped up, so I fell back in behind them, and then they slowed back down. And every time I would get close to their rear end, they would speed up. So they just yo-yoed in front of me. They just kept slowing down and speeding up. So eventually I got tired of it, and they're really heavy. So we got to a little hill, and I passed them on a hill where they couldn't speed up on me. And I sped up to 70, and I stayed at 70 until I got a couple of miles in front of them. And now I went back down to my cruise control speed of 65. And they've caught back up with me again. And they're back there. They've gotten out in the left lane twice to try to pass me. But we keep hitting these tiny little hills, and they are extremely heavy. And they drop a lot of speed on these tiny little hills. So he's out there about 10 feet off my bumper trying to go around me. And he's only going like, I don't know what he's governed at. When I passed him, I had to speed up to 75 to get around him. I sped up to 70 and he sped up to 70 with me. And then we hit the hill and he couldn't speed up any further. And I went ahead and sped up to 75 on the hill and I made it around him. I cannot stand people like this. But we're on flat land now and he's not attempting to pass me. So maybe he's giving up. I don't know what his deal is. But it doesn't appear that he's using a cruise control, and he's not governed at 65, which is the speed that I have my cruise set at. He's definitely capable of going 70 or faster. Oh my goodness, there's like a really strong, like marijuana smell. Nope, that's skunk. I rolled my window down to let the smell out of the truck, and it got really overpowering. And that is skunk. It's not marijuana, that is skunk. So now he's slowed way down and he's dropping back behind me. Looks like he's given up on passing me. Now he's like a quarter of a mile behind me. So anyway, it might take me about 15 minutes to find the trailer. We have flashy lights coming up. I think this might be the sharp turn. What town is this? They have going the other direction, I think they have a really nice... No, I think we already went through that town. I think that was Wichita Falls. Caution. Turning traffic ahead. No, this is not what I thought it was. So then once I find the trailer, which I think I already mentioned it, but the parking lot only has maybe 30, maybe 40 trailers that I have to look through. And I don't have to look through all of them. I just have to look through the Landstar trailers. I have to walk around and look at the paperwork on each trailer. So that is probably going to take about 15 minutes to find the trailer. And then I have to hook up to the trailer, inspect it, and that's going to take, another 15 minutes. And then I have to input the load information into the ELD, put the trailer information into the ELD, I don't technically have to log a vehicle inspection report unless there's an issue, but every time I do a pre-trip or a post-trip or an inspection of a vehicle, I always do a vehicle inspection report, even though it's not required. So yeah, at that point, if everything goes smooth, we're looking at 45 minutes. So if I go a little bit faster than normal, I can do it in 30 minutes. If I go a little bit slower than normal, then I can do it in about an hour. So I don't have a whole lot of spare time to do the drop and hook, because if it takes me more than an hour, I'm going to start running up against my 14-hour clock. But anyway, let's get to the plan. What happened with the plan? What was the plan and what changed about it? All right, now we're going up a little hill. This guy's a quarter of a mile behind me now. Hopefully he falls way back behind me on this hill. Just going over a bridge, he dropped 10 miles an hour, dropped from 65 to 55. Yeah, oh yeah. He's a half mile behind me now. It went from a quarter mile to a half mile behind me. And we still got another little hill we're going to go up. So that should cause even more distance. I just wish he would pick a damn speed, because I'm empty and I have my cruise set at 65. So for him to catch up with me, he has to be going over 65. And when I was behind him, he was just sitting on my front bumper, speed matching me at my cruise speed of 65. I just can't stand people like this. They just don't like being behind other people. I don't care if somebody's in front of me or behind me. I just don't want them anywhere near me. If you want to go faster than me, then go faster than me. You want to go slower than me, go slower than me. But don't go the same damn speed as me close to me. So, book the load Monday around 10 a.m. It wasn't supposed to pick up until Thursday. Delivers the following Monday. So pick it up on Thursday, deliver it on Monday. I didn't feel like driving to Dallas yesterday, so I was like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll sleep in, and I'll get a shower in the afternoon, and I'll leave at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, arrive in Dallas around 2 a.m. so I don't have to deal with traffic. So that's what I did. I left the Toot and Totem truck stop, the AM Best truck stop, drove across the street to the Flying J, topped off fuel, took a shower, got out of the shower, and I had a voicemail on the phone from the agent. And I was dreading listening to the voicemail because I immediately thought they canceled the load on me. And I listened to the voicemail. The second here, catching up with a slow vehicle hauling some cars, pickup truck hauling some cars, hot shot. Man, everybody wanted to be a hot shot back when the freight market was at all-time highs. And I tried to like tell people, because box trucks and hot shots became huge when the freight market was at all-time highs. And YouTube became flooded with YouTube channels about hot shots and box trucks. One of the biggest YouTube channels in the trucking space was a channel called Toe Piglet. I don't even know if that channel still exists. He was a hot shot company that went out of business. And there was a bunch of drama with it because he was out there telling everybody like how much money he makes and how awesome it is. And then he just suddenly went out of business. And everybody's like, I thought you were this all-knowing, money-making machine. So, anyway, I was trying to tell people back then, you know, the market's at all-time highs. There's so much freight, they don't know what to do with it. Brokers and customers do not like dealing with hot shots. They do not like dealing with box trucks. They only deal with them out of necessity. So whenever the freight slows down, those are the first places where the freight is going to dry up, is hot shots and box trucks. So while there's an excess amount of freight, yeah, you can be profitable and there's tons of money to be made with box trucks and hot shots. But as soon as things start slowing down, all of those loads are going to disappear. And you're going to struggle to make ends meet. But we had tons of people that were starting up box truck and hot shot companies when the freight market was at all-time highs. I really don't follow trucker YouTube stuff anymore. So I don't know like what the situation is with all those people. But I suspect, is this a cop on the shoulder? There's no lights or anything, and I don't see anybody, so I'm not going to move over for him. There's a car passing me, and I'm only doing 65. Now, I've just broke down vehicle, hoods up. Speed limit 75. I'm only doing 65. I'm not getting out in that left lane unless I need to. So, back to the plan. So I checked the voicemail, and it was not the load being canceled. It was the agent telling me that the trailer was ready if I wanted to pick it up early. So I became very happy. It was a huge relief that the load was not canceled. So then I had to figure out what I was going to do. Do I go ahead and hang out? I can do a sleeper split and, just hang out until 4 or 5 like I originally planned, and then do the drop and hook. But man, that's going to make for a really, really long day, because instead of getting to Dallas and just staying there, I'm going to be picking the trailer up and then turning and driving for another few hours. So I was like, if I leave right now, I'm going to get into the Dallas area around 9 p.m. And I shouldn't, just a second here, somebody driving across the highway. I shouldn't have any issues with my clock, my 14-hour clock or my 11-hour clock. So I should be getting into the Dallas-Fort Worth area late enough in the evening. The traffic is still going to kind of suck, but it's not going to be that bad. So I very quickly made the decision to just take off. The truck was already prepped to go because I was already planning on driving there, but I just wasn't planning on leaving quite this early in the day. And I did waste about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of my 14-hour clock taking that shower. And you only have 3 hours, so you have an 11-hour drive clock and you have a 14-hour work clock. You can't drive past a 14-hour workday. So whenever you start your workday, it's a rolling clock that just keeps going no matter what your status is for 14 hours. So I started my clock there's a second here. There's like some dust. Right? I'm guessing somebody pulled out of that dirt road right there onto the highway, and that's the reason there was a dust cloud. But basically you have like 3 hours that you can be doing things other than driving in your 14-hour clock and still use all 11 of your drive hours. Like, there's a lot more complexity to it than that. I can do sleeper splits and things like that to recover hours. But right now, as long as I don't take more than about an hour on the drop and hook, I shouldn't have any issues with the 14-hour clock. All right. I did not see any warning about the speed limit change. I just saw that sign that said 55. We're doing 53 right now. You slow down pretty quick when you're empty. I remember somebody, it might have been a manual or like a CDL exam book or something. Maybe it was in CDL school. I can't remember where I heard this, but there was somewhere that said that a fully loaded trailer, like a truck that's 80,000 pounds, can stop faster than an empty truck. And that does not make any sense to me. I cannot remember where I saw that, but I disagree with that. There's probably some physicist or something, some engineer that did some math equation that said, well, if you got a lot of weight, it allows you to stick to the ground better, your tires aren't going to slip, and that's going to allow you to stop faster. I've driven quite a few trucks. I've driven heavy trucks. I've driven light trucks, and I'm like 90% certain that you can stop a lot faster with a light truck than a heavy truck. If I slammed on my brakes with a heavy truck, there's a lot of momentum that you're working against. And those brakes don't work anywhere near as well with a heavy truck as they do with a light truck. I wish I could remember where I read that, but I am like 90% sure that that is completely wrong. But there's probably some kind of math that you can do that theoretically maybe on like a slick surface, like on snow or ice, theoretically a heavy truck can stop faster than a light truck. Now that, yes, I would agree that it is easier to stop a heavy truck than a light truck on snow and ice if you're like going an appropriate speed. But I don't really care how heavy or light you are. If you lose traction, you're going in the ditch. All right, we should be maybe 20-ish miles away from the edge of Fort Worth. But yeah, the plan changed because today I was only planning on driving to Terrell and camping out at a truck stop a couple of miles away from Maddox and just sitting there and waiting for the delivery appointment Thursday. And the plan changed from that to I'm picking the load up tonight. I'm not hanging out in Dallas. I'm dropping and hooking. I'm turning and burning. And I'm hoping I can make it all the way to Memphis, Texas, which is the place where I like to stop when I leave Dallas. The Love's Truck Stop in Memphis. And hopefully I don't have to put the trailer in the shop, but it is very rare for me to pick up a trailer and I don't have to put it into the shop. Even the brand new trailer that I picked up, my very first trailer from Landstar, the very first trailer I got from Landstar, I had to drive from Oklahoma City to Laredo, Texas, 600 miles. Because Landstar had a whole bunch of brand new trailers that they needed picked up out of Laredo. They didn't find the closest trailer for me. They needed me to go pick up one of their trailers because they needed those trailers out of that lot. So, I didn't know any better. So I just drove 600 miles to pick the damn trailer up. And then when I got there, the DOT inspection on the trailer was, it was the original DOT inspection from the factory in Mexico. And it was, over 120 days old. And I was told in orientation that the trucks and trailers have to be inspected every 120 days. So I was like, this trailer needs to be inspected. I only learned recently that Landstar doesn't hold their trailers to the same standards that they hold our trucks. Landstar trailers only need to get an inspection done once a year. But you can take any trailer that has an inspection over 120 days or that's within 2 weeks of the 120 days, so up to 2 weeks before the 120-day mark, you can put it into any shop that is Landstar certified and get a DOT inspection done on the trailer. And Landstar will actually pay you like a $25 or $50 bounty for getting a trailer inspection done. Whereas I was told in orientation that I would be put out of service. What I was told in orientation was that I would be put out of service if the tractor or trailer DOT inspection, either one of them, were over 120 days. And I was told that there was a 2-week, I think it was, I forgot who told me this. I don't think this was in orientation. This is some other point, and it was like trailer maintenance or somebody told me that there was a 2-week grace period. So if I picked up a trailer that was over 120 days, that I wouldn't immediately be put out of service. I would have 2 weeks from the time that trailer was assigned to me to get an inspection done on it before I would be put out of service. And it was only recently, within probably the last 6 months to a year, that I was talking with trailer maintenance about 120-day inspection on a trailer, and they told me that no, I would not be put out of service after 120 days on a trailer. Yeah, just come over real close. Sorry, when somebody's this close in front of me, I have to hover my foot over the brake pedal. If they slam on their brakes that close to me, I'll rear end them before I can get my foot off the floor. So, yeah, trailer maintenance, the last person I talked with about it told me that no, the trailers only need to be inspected once per year, but if you do get it inspected before the year is up, then you'll get the bounty. Which is really weird because on the Landstar, I don't know who's telling me the truth. I've been told so many different things. But on my Landstar homepage, it lists compliance events. And it will show, like, if I have a trailer that is close to the 120 days, it'll show a compliance event on the trailer I'm hauling, within 14 days, within 7 days, or it'll show the equipment as out of compliance if it's over 120 days on the trailer inspection. So I really don't know what the truth is because I've been told so many things. But yeah, I just hope that there are not issues with the trailer I'm picking up. The trailer that I have right now is awesome. This trailer just had a DOT inspection at the end of February, and when I picked it up, it was a repower, so another Landstar driver broke down, and I had to finish delivering the load for them, and I was surprised that there were no issues with it. Like, it had a recent DOT inspection, and everything passed, which is really rare. Maybe I'll get lucky again, and the trailer that I'm picking up over here will also be awesome. To get lucky 2 trailers in a row, man, we'll see. But if I do have to put it in the shop, then I have plenty of time. I have a lot of extra time on this load. And that brings up a whole bunch of other stuff. Like, all right, if there is an issue with the trailer, if it is like a major issue, like a flat tire, then I'll have to get it fixed right there. I'll have to get a road call done. A mechanic's going to have to come out and fix it, and I'm going to have to sit there for hours waiting on that to get done. And I might have, who knows, that's going to totally screw up my trip plan. But if there's a minor issue with the trailer, then I'm just going to leave with the trailer, and I will put it in the shop in, Memphis, Texas. Just a second here. This pickup is racing to get in front of me, and it has no acceleration. Come on, you can do it, Toyota. There you go. Got 2 cars in the left lane passing me. I'm going 10 miles an hour under the speed limit, and this person almost forced me out in the left lane. Rome, exit 1 mile, spelled R-H-O-M-E. I think there's a Love's truck stop here, and this is the Love's truck stop here in Rome. This is where, when I was at USA Truck, I could be completely wrong on this, but this might not be where I'm thinking of. But when I was going through training at USA Truck, the trainer that I had was on a dedicated, was it the Georgia Pacific account? I think it was a Georgia Pacific dedicated account, hauling paper plates, paper cups, stuff like that. But he would pick up loads out of Dallas, take them to Denver, and then he would go out. He would take loads that would get him in the direction of Muskogee, Oklahoma. And then after he delivered the load, he would drive down to Muskogee, pick up a load at a Georgia Pacific, take it down to Dallas. So he mainly ran loads from a Georgia Pacific in Dallas and another Georgia Pacific in Muskogee. I could be wrong on Georgia Pacific. I don't think that was it. I think it was another paper company. But yeah, there's the Loves over on the right. Yeah, this is it. Because I remember there was like a hill. Yep, that's the Loves. This the Loves here in Rome is the one that he liked to stop at to get trailers fixed, because he would pick up trailers coming out of Dallas. Get in your lane, buddy. I almost had to honk the horn on that guy. He came way over. He almost crossed the line. He was on the line, and he almost crossed the line. Or she, I don't know. There's just as many bad female drivers as male. I don't want to be called sexist, because I don't believe that females can be just as stupid as males. Trust me, they can. But yeah, that Love's truck stop there in Rome is where he would take trailers. Like, he would drive trailers even with flat tires. He wouldn't do roadside stuff. He would drive them from Dallas all the way over here to Rome to that Love's and have the stuff fixed there at that truck stop. Company drivers do stuff like that because they're paid so little, and they don't get paid for, sitting around at the shop or sitting around for roadside. Most truck drivers don't get paid for that stuff, which should be illegal. There's almost no industry in which you can, be forced to do work for a company and they are not forced to pay you to do that work. That's one of the things that is absolutely insane about the trucking industry, is that we're exempted from labor laws. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy that the trucking industry is exempted from labor laws, where they don't have to pay us for the time that we work. They don't have to pay us minimum wage. They don't have to pay us overtime. That is absolutely crazy. Now, as an independent contractor, a business owner, an owner-operator, labor laws don't really apply to business owners. They apply to mainly employees. So I'm not talking specifically about my position, but the industry in general. Employees, trucking employees, are exempted from labor laws, and that is absolutely crazy. And we supposedly waive our rights for illegal searches and things like that. The basic things like the Bill of Rights, where we're protected from the government just searching us for, they have to have a reason. They can't just search us just for the hell of it. We apparently waive those rights whenever we decide to become a truck driver. For us to get a CDL, we supposedly waive those rights. That's not legal. That's like the Bill of Rights. That's like basic human rights that everyone gets. There's so many things wrong with our government and with this country. It's sad that this is one of the best countries in the world. It would be so amazing if we didn't have governments ruling over us. Wouldn't that be nice? Second here, is this person? Okay, I think they're exiting. I was trying to figure out if they were pulling off onto the shoulder or... All right, and there's somebody taking a left across the highway. All right, I've got 11 miles until I get onto Interstate 35. And I'm going to take 35 down to 20, and then 20 all the way to Terrell. But right now I'm being optimistic, hoping that there are no issues with the trailer. If there are issues with the trailer, depending on what exactly the issue is, it could cause a lot of problems. That person is hauling ass. That motorcycle is going well in excess of 100 miles an hour. Probably doing like 120, 130-ish. I have my cruise set at 65 to give you some idea how fast they were going. They were easily going 65 miles per hour faster than me, so I would say that they were going at least 130. Now, I can't say that I've never done anything that stupid, because before I got into trucking, my commuter, my work commuter, what I drove back and forth to work was a motorcycle, a Nissan, oh my goodness, how, Z, what was it, a 606, oh my goodness, I forgot the model. How do I forget the model? Nissan ZX6R? Yeah, ZX6R. It was the Nissan's 600 series cc Super Sport. It was a racing motorcycle. It's basically the lowest end racing motorcycle. You have 600 series, which most of the manufacturers make 600cc bikes, but Kawasaki, no, what am I thinking? Not Nissan. Nissan is my car. I'm getting my car and my motorcycle mixed up. I sold my motorcycle, still have my car. My car is a Nissan 370Z, the Fair Lady Z. The motorcycle was a Kawasaki Ninja .6R or something like that. I can't remember the exact model number of it. But almost all of the Super Sport 6 series are 600cc bikes, but Kawasaki's was higher than 600. I can't remember exactly how many cc's it was. But that thing was amazing. It was just, like, there is a world of difference between, like, a regular sport bike and a racing, like, super sport bike. Everything is just, like, so much more well built. My first bike, some coworkers talked me into starting out on a starter bike, a Ninja, like, 300cc bike, which is basically like a kid's bike. And I'm a grown-ass man. I was like 30 years old driving a Ninja 300, and that thing was gutless. It had issues accelerating past like 60. If I had a strong headwind, it was hard for me to like go past 60. And my main commute was on interstates, so that, I hated that motorcycle. It was a nice motorcycle for what it was, but my coworkers that were, one of them, like, both of them were very, very serious into motorcycles. They were extremely knowledgeable. One of them raced motorcycles. And these two idiots talked me into buying a Ninja 300 as my starter bike. And I hated both of them for talking me into that. It was a huge waste of time and money. And it was dangerous. That motorcycle was dangerous. And I traded that in and bought the ZX6R, the Ninja ZX6R, and I was so happy with that decision. That ZX6R was perfect. It had good acceleration, good deceleration. It was amazing on the interstate. Just a second here. This four-wheeler in front of me keeps speeding up and slowing down. Now I've got a four-wheeler alongside me. We got somebody merging on. Speed limit 70, I have my cruise at 65. And I'm going to go ahead and speed up to 70 to get around this car faster. At 65, I was going faster than this car. So 70, I should fly by them, but they sped up. Still going faster than them at 70, but barely. But the Ninja 300 side winds, oh my God, they were terrifying on that bike. Somebody would, what it felt like whenever you would get a gust from the side was like somebody kicking your, you know how when somebody's walking behind you and they'll like kick your leg out from underneath you? That's what it felt like. There's somebody on the shoulder here. They're way off on the side. I'm not going to move over for them. They're in the grass. Four miles to Interstate 35. So, yeah, it was really scary to get a wind gust. And that thing was just, oh my goodness. But the ZX6R was so smooth on the interstate. Just cruising down the interstate at 70, it just felt like you were gliding. And that's the way most sport vehicles are in comparison to normal vehicles. Like, I remember the first time I drove a Ford Mustang. You know, up to that point, I had been driving a Ford Ranger. This was when I was in high school, so I didn't have a whole lot of experience driving several different vehicles at the time. But that Ford Ranger, that tiny little Ford pickup, there's a lot of traffic going the other direction. That off-ramp is backed way up. But that Ford Ranger was like that Ninja 300 where you felt the wind, you felt everything, the acceleration sucked, everything sucked. And my buddy wanted me to go to the store and grab food, and he didn't want to go, so he told me to drive his Mustang. And I took his Mustang down there, and that thing, like, I was doing 50 in a 35, and I didn't realize how fast I was going because how smooth it was. Like, you could do 70 miles an hour in that Mustang, and it felt like doing 20 miles an hour in the Ford Ranger. If you were going 80 in a Ford Ranger, it felt like you were going to, like, go back in time or something. You're waiting for lightning to start popping up from around the vehicle. You're going to do some Back to the Future stuff. But in that Mustang, it just was so smooth. And that's the same way that, like, my Fairlady Z is. Like, it's a sport car. And that ZX6R, that super sport motorcycle, was on a whole other level. That thing had insane acceleration, like the deceleration was crazy on it, the acceleration was crazy on it. And how smooth it was, how responsive it was, just everything about it was on a whole other level, even beyond like my sports car, my Nissan 370Z or the Mustang. It was just on a whole other level. And yes, I did do stupid things on it. The fastest I ever got up to the motorcycle was around 150 miles an hour. Really dumb. Just a second here, we're getting on the interstate. Half a mile.
In half a mile, use the right two lanes to take the I-35W road.
Just a second here. I'm watching all the signs, trying to pay attention to the traffic. So we're going to do like, I think about 15 miles on 35.
Continue for 15 miles.
Yeah, Google just said 15 miles. This lane is probably going to end. I'm probably going to need to get over. We're going to do about 15 miles on 35. Yep, there's the exit only sign. And this car to my left, let me hit the brakes because they're wanting to get into the lane I'm wanting to get into. And bam, we're right into Dallas traffic, the Dallas-Fort Worth area traffic. We're in Fort Worth now. It is 8:26 p.m., so I'm about 30 minutes ahead of schedule. I thought I wasn't going to get to Fort Worth until about 9, maybe 9:15. All right, this lane's going exit only. Have to be very careful with lane changes. These four-wheelers, they will just hop into a lane with you. And people get really aggressive when you throw your signal on, and they'll try to like block you from changing lanes. Not everybody, but it's quite common, especially with trucks. But it happens in my personal vehicle as well. I throw on my signal and people will block me in my car. It's not just people doing that to trucks. So, the hell was I talking about? Oh, the motorcycle. So what was the stupid that I did when I got up to like 150? Well, I was on my normal commute to work, and there just happened to be like a section of interstate that was just wide open. There was not another car for as far as I could see in front of me. It was 3 lanes wide. So I was out in the left lane, and I just accelerated. Lane ends in a quarter mile, so the left lane is, oh shit. As soon as I looked over my right mirror, some asshole popped out from behind me, passing me on the right, probably racing this idiot that just flew by me on the left. But I just like pulled back on the throttle and, got into my little race position and just took off. And I went from 70 to 150 in just a couple of seconds. And I let off the throttle. I did not even touch the brakes. I just let off the throttle. That thing would slow down so very fast by just letting off the throttle, not even touching the brakes. That thing was like, it was like most vehicles slamming the brakes. So I got up to like 150, and then I just let off the throttle, and I dropped back down to 170. So over the course of like 1 mile, maybe 2 miles, I went from 70 to 150 back to 70. And there was not another car around me on the interstate. Really stupid, but also exhilarating. It was fun. Stupid and dangerous, but it was fun. Oh my goodness. All these four-wheelers are driving slow, and all these trucks are just like aggressively trying to get through here. Like the flow of traffic is 55, the speed limit is 65, and these trucks are just trying to intimidate people into going faster. Once I get on I-20, it should be better than 35. We've only got 10 miles to go. There really should be a minimum of 3 lanes on this interstate, probably more like 4 or 5. But the Dallas-Fort Worth area is just such a spaghetti mess of roads that oh, I got too much space in front of me. Everybody's got to hop over in front of it. this is like the worst part of the drive. I don't even think going through California is going to be that bad on this drive, because I should be able to bypass pretty much all of the LA area. And then when I drive through the Sacramento area, I'm going to try to do that in the middle of the night. But Dallas and Sacramento are pretty much the only two major metropolitan areas that I'm going to be driving through on this route. Lots of brake lights up ahead. Let's go ahead and start slowing down. Still got 8 miles till Interstate 20. See, this is the reason that I try to plan going through the Dallas area at like midnight, 2 a.m. so I don't have to deal with this crap. 8:30 at night, and it's still like, it's not stop and go, but it's like speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. It's constant braking. Here's the Fort Worth skyline over on the right. But yeah, I wasn't one of those people doing stupid stuff on the motorcycle all the time, but I can't say that I never did stupid stuff. There were a couple of times I did dumb things. Are they going to keep going for the left lane, or are they going to get back over in the right lane? What are they going to do? They're getting squirrely. There's tons of room over in that right lane. What in the hell is going on in this lane? There's some like really slow vehicle. It's a truck. The truck in front of the truck, like not the truck directly in front of me, but the truck in front of them is just, we're doing 35. They are causing a lot of slowdown in this lane. They probably have an exit. Well, traffic is slowing down way in front of us too. But that's not the reason this truck in front of me is going so slow. Now we're starting to hit slow traffic. This truck has been going slow this whole time. And now they're hopping over into the left lane. I think that truck is going so slow because they don't know where they're going. Yeah, they're getting way, I think they have a left lane exit coming up or something. And they're hopping way out over there. That was not a lot of notice for an exit-only lane. So I got 5.6 miles until Interstate 20. That was Interstate 30 that just broke off of 35 right there. Oh man, I don't like passing on the right. This lane could go exit only at any moment, or it could just end. And the Dallas-Fort Worth area does not have like a whole lot of notice on shit. Like right there, that exit only, you had like 500 feet of notice for that lane going exit only. You can have lanes ending with like a couple 100 feet notice. All right, we're around that truck that is going really slow because they don't really know what they're doing. Being behind a vehicle like that is dangerous because traffic starts building around you and people want to get around you, so people start flying by you on both sides. It's really hard to do lane changes. It's really hard to do anything. You're just kind of at the mercy of that slow vehicle in front of you. If they slam on their brakes, you don't have anything that you can do besides slam on yours. You notice now that we got away from them how open the road is. I'm speeding. I'm doing 62. Google says the speed limit's 55. Google's not always right. That sign says 70 right there. The sign on the bridge. Let's see if Google changes from 55. Nope. Oh, yep. Google just changed to 70. So maybe we were in a 55 and it just changed to 70 at that bridge. Come on, four-wheeler. I just slowed down to 58 miles an hour to let this four-wheeler in front of me. And now we're just cruising at 60. Three miles until my exit. I'm expecting Interstate 20 to be a lot nicer than this, a lot less traffic. But I've still got like an hour to get to Terrell once I get onto Interstate 20. I think it's 68 miles once I get onto Interstate 20 until I get to Maddox and Terrell. This second here. There's a line of people merging on. Slowing down to 55 miles an hour to make room for them. Because the cars in front of me are going so damn slow. When you're not attempting to pass four-wheelers, they get so casual. But if I were to get out in the left lane and start trying to pass these people, I promise you they would speed up. That person almost took that exit. I don't know if you saw it. Two vehicles in front of me. They just started drifting to the exit across the median and they jerked it back over to the lane. A lot of people under the influence of stuff these days. It's a lot more common for people to be driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol nowadays than it was like 30 years ago. Drugs have basically become mainstream. And then you have the doctors over prescribing. So a lot of people that are under the influence of stuff. Just a second here. I'm just making sure that this car is not alongside me. A lot of...
645 feet.
Just a second here. There's a truck parked in the median. Yeah, almost no one took this exit.
Continue on I-20 east for 1 mile.
But a lot of these people that are under the influence of stuff, it's prescriptions. It's things that they're prescribed. I've heard some crazy numbers. I'm not sure how true they are. I haven't done a lot of research on it. But I've heard that something like 30% of the U.S. population is under either antidepressants or antipsychotics. I couldn't believe that when I heard that. I still don't believe that that's true. 1 in 3 people is on some type of like antidepressant.
Your destination will be on the right.
That is insane. All right, yeah, it looks like I-20 is a lot better.
Your destination is on the right. Head east on I-20 east.
Just a second here. I'm trying to get up to speed, but these cars in front of me are doing dumb things. I was doing 55. Now I'm finally up to 60. Oh my goodness, that car almost rear-ended that truck. Do you see that? I don't know if you can see it in the video. That car is just like 2 inches off that truck's bumper, flashing their lights at them, just spamming their high beams at them. That truck just pulled off onto the shoulder to let them pass. Like, the level of dumb out here. I don't know what in the hell these people are thinking. And that car and truck just took the same exit. Is there a road rage happening now? I don't know. They're off the interstate. Not my problem anymore. Okay. Come on, four-wheeler, get around me. My lane's ending. See, like no notice whatsoever for lanes ending in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You just come up over a hill, your lane's ending. Go to the other lane. Right there's the sign, and right there's the lane ending. Traffic should be a lot better coming back because it'll be later at night. See if
There are police reported ahead.
be like 9:45, 10 p.m. whenever I get to Maddox. An hour to do the drop and hook. I'll be leaving at like 11. So I'll be driving back across here at about 11 p.m. Still not going to be amazing. I prefer midnight or later. And these floodlights for this construction are bright. Just a second here. I'm having to squint. That is really stupid and dangerous to have those floodlights shining into traffic's eyes. I'm going to grab another lane because there's a very short merge lane here where cars are just not yielding to me. They're just forcing their way in. And now I'm fighting with an uneven lane. My steer tires are fighting with me. I got people past me on the right. Yeah, this is a right lane's going exit only. So let's see how many of these vehicles need to get out of that lane. This is not bad for the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but it sucks. This place is just way overpopulated. I hate driving through places like this where the infrastructure is just not appropriate for the population. During the daytime, it's just like gridlock everywhere. At night, it just gets congested. Slowdowns. But usually not gridlock. All right, just a second here. We got to negotiate some twisties in these narrow lane construction. And I've got a big truck passing me in the center lane, speeding through the construction. Hauling doubles. Is this FedEx? Yep. I would turn the wipers on, use some washer fluid, clean off the windows, but all it would do is smear all the bugs around and make it a lot worse. This four-wheeler in front of me is annoying. They just started slowing down. Speed limit 70, and I just slowed down from 65 to 60. Now we're up to 64. I don't want to get out another lane to the left to pass this four-wheeler. All right, now they've sped up. I'm doing 65, they're pulling away from me. Sorry, I'm just doing the play-by-play, but there's just so much going on when I'm driving in heavy traffic like this. There's so much stuff I have to pay attention to. It's really hard for me to talk about anything. Now this car's slowing way down again. I'm doing 63 and flying up on him. 60 and I'm still catching up with him. All right, we're going around this idiot. I'm tired of them just like slowing down out of nowhere. What it appears that they're doing is every time we go down a hill, they're just letting it coast. And then every time we go up a hill, they speed up. I'm doing 65 and flying by them right now. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stay out here and pass this truck too. Maybe, we'll see. It's a prime. Prime usually runs really heavy, so they were probably just going slow because of the hill. And we'll see how fast they're going now. Going 66, and I'm still going by them pretty quick. $65, still going by them pretty quick. Let's speed back up 66 to pass them a little bit faster. 68, should be really moving by them now. All right, let's move back over a lane. Turn the cruise back on to 65. Speed limit is 70. And traffic is thinning out a bit. Or we're just in a nice little gap in between clusters. Whenever I get to the whenever I do the drop and hook at Maddox, I keep a spray bottle of soap and water, and I will bust that thing out and soak down the window and use the wipers to clean off the window to get the bugs off of here. It works a lot better than the windshield washer fluid. I'm tempted to put like a little bit of soap into the windshield washer stuff, but I'm afraid that it might like clog up the pump or the lines or something. So what I typically do is I just use that spray bottle and just soak down the window and then run the wipers. And just a second here. You getting in my lane? Or are you just drifting all over the road? What's going on?
There are police reported ahead.
A second. Everybody trying to figure out what they're going to do here. People are stacking in this lane. There's an exit coming up that everybody's taking. Oh, you didn't want to be in my lane after all, huh? Just cut me off, make me hit my brakes, and then you hop back over in the damn lane you came from. All right, yeah, this is where everybody's exiting. 360 North, Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. And then 360 South. Man, that cleaned a lot of cars off the interstate. Let's see how many we get on the other side on the on-ramp. So 26 miles until some junction. Google has some of the weirdest things. It'll tell you, like, keep left to stay on Interstate 20, and you'll be going by an exit. You'll be like, are you serious? Like, you're afraid I was just going to take that exit out of nowhere? So Google Maps is nice, but it still has a lot of issues. It's a lot better than it was 20 years ago. Oh my goodness, 20 years ago as a truck driver? Oh, wow. I think that's one of the reasons that the industry is so bad right now as far as freight, the rates, is because it's a lot easier to be a truck driver now than it was just like 20 years ago. I'm not sure when, GPS on your phone became normal. Was that around 2010? So there have been two major changes in the trucking industry. Well, three major changes in the trucking industry that just made it a lot easier for people to be in the industry. Number one, automatic trucks. A lot of people could not make it through CDL school. A lot of people could not get a CDL because of the manual. A lot of people just could not shift gears in these trucks. There were huge numbers of people that failed to get CDLs because of the manual transmission. So automatics greatly increased the number of people getting CDLs, made it a lot easier to get a CDL. Now the only thing that really holds people back from getting a CDL is backing. And the backing tests, just a second here. Does this FedEx still want to move over left? No, okay. They just turned their signal off. So the only thing that really holds them back now are the backing tests. But the CDL schools have figured out ways to just teach people to do the maneuvers. There's only like a couple of different tests that you have to do. And what the CDL schools do is they just train people to do those specific maneuvers. So when people get out of CDL school, they don't know how to back. They just know how to do the maneuvers for the test. They memorize that, okay, you pull up to the, this point, and then you turn the wheel all the way this way, and then you back up 10 feet, and you turn the wheel this way, make sure your tires are pointing this way, then you back up. That's the way they pass the test. They just memorize how to perform the specific maneuvers that are on the test. It is a horrible way to test someone. So that's issue number one that made it just way too easy for people to get CDLs, is the automatic transmissions. Half of my class back in the early 2000s, just a second here, I have to slow down. Got cars stacking in front of me, slamming on their brakes. About half of my class when I got my CDL in the early 2000s, I was around 2003 when I got my CDL the first time. About half of my class failed because of the manual transmission. There was one guy that we had in the class, and also about half my class was there on unemployment. The only reason that they were in the CDL class was so that they could continue to get their unemployment benefits. They were told that they could either go through some type of training or they had to go to job interviews. And the people in my class chose to go through training instead of job interviews. So a lot of people in my class did not care about getting a CDL. They just wanted to continue getting their unemployment benefits. But there was one guy that was on unemployment that really wanted a CDL. And he was handicapped. Like, he was super excited to be there. Like, he was so excited to be a truck driver and get a CDL. And the guy was severely handicapped. Like, he walked around with those arm crutch things. His legs didn't work right. There was no way he could shift a manual transmission. And he thought that if he somehow passed the class, that some company would get an automatic transmission truck for him. This was back when automatic trucks were like a rumor. Like, I heard that they existed. I'd never seen one. And he was betting that he would be able to be a truck driver. Somebody would, buy an automatic truck for him if he passed the CDL school. So he was going to try to pass the CDL school, and he was also going to try to get his CDL, and he was hoping that somebody would buy an automatic truck for him to be a truck driver. Oh my goodness, just a second here. This lane in front of me is slowing down again. This truck is trying to pass, and now all the cars in front of me sped up. Now we're doing 65. We've been doing like 50, 55 miles an hour this whole time. Well, not this whole time, but for the last few miles, for like the last 10 minutes or so, we've been doing like 50, 55. And then Werner got out there and started trying to pass everybody, and all the cars sped up to 65. Now we're cruising. So we got a prime that's slowing the lane down. Still got 42 miles until I get to Maddox. Let's see, it is 9:05 p.m. So yeah, I'm going to get there pretty close to the time that I expected. I might be like 20 minutes early. I was expecting to get to Maddox right around 10 p.m. Looks like I might be getting there like 9:50-ish, maybe 10. right, let me finish my thought. Automatic transmissions, number one, allowed a lot of people in. But oh yeah, the story with that guy. So like, I really liked that guy. I didn't get along with most people in my CDL class because they were just a bunch of people on unemployment that didn't really care. They showed up late, they left early, they didn't put any effort into learning any of the material or doing anything. They didn't care about passing the class. They were just doing it so that they could get unemployment benefits. But me and my buddy Percy, which I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, were like desperate to get a CDL so that we could make money. So, and we were the top two people in the class by a long shot. We were the only two people that got our CDLs after the class. Everybody else had to like try and try again. There were a few people that eventually got CDLs in the class, but he and I, as soon as we passed the class, like the very next, like we finished the class on Friday, and he and I both got our CDLs on the following Monday. And everybody else had to do multiple attempts to get their CDLs, and most of the class did not get their CDLs. But Percy and then that little cripple guy were my two buddies in class because we were the only three that really cared about getting a CDL. Everybody else just didn't seem to care much. All right, I'm going to pass Prime because Prime appears to be doing 62. All right, Prime can't figure out which. There's multiple lane markings, and Prime can't seem to figure out which ones are the correct ones. All right, now we're out of that area. Now we only have a single lane marking. So Prime, stay in your lane. Got somebody pass me on the damn left. I'm trying to hug the left lane because Prime is having lane issues. I'm halfway through my lane change. I don't need you to flash your brights at me, Prime. I'm already doing the lane change. I don't need you to let me know it's clear. And I especially don't need somebody flashing their brights while I'm looking at my mirror, blinding the hell out of me. So, the cripple guy, as far as I know, never got his license. There was some fat woman that after like 2 or 3 weeks, she got her license. Percy and I both went to Swift. Swift paid for us to go to CDL school. So we both had contracts with Swift. And Percy ended up getting into a relationship with that fat woman, and they ended up doing some team driving for a while. And that relationship did not last. I can't even remember the weird stories that he told me, but I remember there were some really weird things about her. And they team drove for a little while. Percy did a whole bunch of team driving. I don't know why in the hell he did that. I was always solo. As soon as I got out of training, I've never done team driving outside of training, but Percy did a whole bunch of team driving. And when I was on with Conway Western Express as a line haul driver, which is now, Conway is now XPO Logistics, just a second here. Just watching these trucks that just merged on, see if they're going to jump out in my lane. When I was on with Conway, they just started up like an over-the-road division. So you had like Conway Western Express, Conway Southern Express. There was a whole bunch of different Conways for each region. And then they spun up a new company that was an over-the-road division. Well, it was all team drivers doing over-the-road. And Percy signed up for that. because I was working for Conway, and he was looking at coming over to Conway, and he saw that team over the road stuff, and he was like, oh, that pays really well. And he signed up and he did that. And the team driver that he got hooked up with was lazy. He was driving on that guy's logbook, and once that guy found out that Percy would just drive his hours for him, then he was always claiming to be sick or something wrong with him, and he was just staying in the sleeper, just like sleeping and hanging out, and Percy was basically driving on 2 logbooks. And I can't remember the details of, like, there were a bunch of good stories that I can't remember that he told me about that situation. And he eventually just quit. Just a second here. Werner's hitting their brakes in front of me. I don't know why. Because I can't see in front of the Werner. There is some flashing lights on the other side of the interstate. All right, there's Werner's passing somebody. So we have a, what is that, a hay? Is that hay or no? It looks like lumber. Looks like poles, fence poles or something on that flatbed. I can't tell. Oh, now this guy wants to. No, it looks like pipes, plastic or metal pipes. I don't know why that truck just had to get in front of me. Is that lane ending? I don't see anything about that lane ending that they were in. They just moved over in front of me going slower than me. I better finish my thought process. I keep digressing into other stories. So automatic transmissions made it easy to get a CDL. That's number one. Number two, the ELD. Believe it or not, paper logbooks were very complex. And a lot of people could not understand paper logbooks. They would get a lot of violations, and they would eventually like get fired or lose their license. And a lot of people just didn't run many hours. Just a second here, there's one four-wheeler over in the right lane. I'm just waiting for them to pass. I'm going to get back over behind Werner. So the ELD made it a lot easier to be a truck driver. And then GPS. Those are the 3 things that have changed in the last 20 years that have made it a lot easier to be a truck driver. Manual transmissions weeded out a lot of people. Getting lost, GPS, having to like be able to navigation without GPS weeded out a lot of people. There were a lot of people that would just get lost, or they would get down places where they weren't supposed to be. And I was told that the tickets in some of these areas for a commercial vehicle being in a residential, some of the tickets back then, I'm not sure if it's true or if it's still true, but I was told that you could get a ticket of $5,000 for going into a residential area with one of these trucks if you didn't have any business in that area. Like if you didn't have a pickup or delivery, like if you were Mayflower or something, doing household goods stuff, helping people move, then you had a reason to be in the residential. But if you got down in a residential that you weren't supposed to be in, and you started knocking down power lines and crap, I was told that it was a $5,000 fine. So yeah, navigation would weed out a lot of people. They would get their CDLs, they would get into it, and then they just couldn't find their delivery places. I mean, there are people that just have no sense of direction. Even with the GPS that we have today, you would think it'd be difficult for people to get lost. I used to do food delivery all the time. I don't do it anymore because it's become such a huge ripoff. When food delivery started up in my area, it was just like 99-cent delivery, and that was it. There weren't any fees. There weren't any huge markups or anything. But over time, the 99-cent delivery went to like $5 delivery with a 30% markup on the food, and then a $1.50 service fee, and then you're expected to tip on top of that. So you ended up paying more to get the food to you than the food actually cost. If you were to go into the store and buy the food yourself, the food would be like $10, but to get it delivered was like $23. But back when they got a big truck pulled over, whole bunch of cops there. I'm not sure what that was all about. Maybe as a hit and run. There was an SUV and then a big truck behind it, but it looked like the truck was bobtail. But I had multiple occasions where I had orders canceled because drivers couldn't find my house. There was a girl that drove around in my neighborhood for over a half hour. She drove past my house probably 6 times. It finally got to the point where I just went out and stood in my front yard waiting for her to drive by again, and I was going to I was out there with a flashlight, and I was going to tell her to stop, pull over, because I could see her driving around on the GPS, on the little map. And she ended up calling me, crying, and said that she couldn't find my house and that she was going to return the order. I had that happen probably 3 or 4 times. Not like calling me crying, but like driving around, can't find my house, and then they give up and go return the order. And I don't live in some weird place. I don't have a weird address or anything like that. I live in a standard residential neighborhood. I live on a corner, and it's really easy to find my house with the address, especially with GPS. There's nothing weird about where I live. All right, it's telling me the left 2 lanes are for I-20 East. So are we going to be losing some of the right lanes? I don't know. We're just going to have to keep an eye out.
Keep left to stay on I-20 East. Follow signs to street.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and just get over into this lane that the signs are telling me to get into. because, yeah, there it is. Like, I couldn't tell that that lane was disappearing until the last second. Yeah, the Dallas-Fort Worth, like Texas in general has awesome roads, but the Dallas-Fort Worth area is just an absolutely hideous nightmare that has very poor markings, very poor notice on lanes ending and stuff like that. Usually when they have signs up like that that say like I-20, these two left lanes, that's just usually telling through traffic, hey, through traffic, hang out in these two lanes. If the lanes are going exit only, they usually add more information like exit only to that stuff. All right, we still have a left lane restriction on trucks for 6 more miles, which tells me that this right lane is not going to end for at least 6 miles. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons that we're having such a problem with the amount of trucks on the road is trucking companies are used to just constantly recruiting people because it's so hard to get people into the industry. Like, it's so hard to find people that, number one, can get into the industry, and then number two, that will stay in the industry. Because of those 3 things that I listed about the problem of why we have so many people in the industry now, only one of those affects getting your CDL, the manual transmission. The other 2 don't really affect anything until you actually get out and start doing the job. So I don't know how bad the turnover is now of people quitting the industry, but like 20 years ago, it was massive. You had a lot of people that failed to get their CDL. I don't know the exact numbers, but if I had to guess, I would say maybe only like 10 to 20% of the people that went to CDL school ended up getting their CDLs. Maybe a little bit higher. Let's go 40%. Let's say 4 out of 10 people in a CDL class would end up getting their CDLs. And then you had a really high washout rate within the first year. So, just a second here. Schneider is speeding up. Well, now Schneider is going faster than me. It's a miracle. I just somehow magicked my way up to Schneider, and I get out here to pass them, and now they're going faster than me. Now that they've got me blocked in this lane, they've slowed back down and they're speed matching me. All right, I'm setting my cruise at 65 again. I can't stand people like this. You don't just magically catch up to somebody. I caught up to them because they were going slower than me, and then when I went to pass them, they decided they didn't want to be passed, so they sped up. Still got 19 miles to go. As long as they keep going faster than me, I don't care. They're going to piss me off if they slow back down and just start speed matching me at this distance. So let's say that like 40% of people got their CDL 20 years ago. Of those 4 people out of 10 that got their CDL, you would have probably half of them wash out during the training because they just couldn't stand to team drive. Like, it's a nightmare. Like, the people, they're not trainers. These are the most weird, crazy people that they pair you up with that you're supposed to live with. And a lot of people quit during training, that team driving training. So you might have like half the people quit during that. All right, Schneider is slowing down again, but we have a slow vehicle in the center lane, so I can't pass them. Now Schneider is speeding back up. This is starting to piss me off because, yeah, Schneider is just like yo-yoing in front of me. I have people do this to me all the time. They don't want me to pass them, so I try to pass them and they speed up. And then when I fall back in behind them, they just yo-yo. They just speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down. And here's another lane ending in the Dallas-Fort Worth area with almost no notice whatsoever. Schneider, I'm getting really tired of this crap. All right, we're just going to speed up. We're going to go around Schneider. I'm tired of them playing games with me. You know, I don't even know, like, the full situation of why this shit happens. There's so much, like, new stuff with trucks these days where trucks have, like, passing mode and all kinds of stuff like that, where they're able to, like, exceed their governed speed for a short duration for a certain amount of time per hour or per, like, whatever. So you'll have people that are just using that to keep people from passing. Just a second here. What's going on? What the hell is that over on the left? I'm not sure. That looked like an accident, but there was like a cop that just drove past us not too long ago. I don't know why that cop wouldn't stop and check on them. $15 miles. It's actually probably going to be a little bit further than that because I didn't bother to map out the whole thing. Google is going to want me to exit and drive through the middle of town, but I'm not taking the Google exit. I'm taking the next exit and driving through the industrial park. Now that I'm in front of Schneider, they've stopped driving fast, and they've just like started driving like 64 or something. They just keep falling further and further back. So they were just trying as hard as they could to stay in front of me. And now that I'm in front of them, they've given up. And now they're going really slow and falling way behind. All right, four-wheeler, what are you doing? Just gonna merge on right alongside me, huh? Yeah, I don't know what in the hell they were thinking. I've got a four-wheeler passing me on the left, and they were just, I don't know what they thought I was going to do, but they just stayed right alongside me until they hit the shoulder, and then they slammed on their brakes and fell in behind me. But yeah, trucking companies, I don't think they've evolved to how easy it is for people to get a CDL and how easy it is for people to stay in the industry. I don't think we're having anywhere near the turnover that we used to have because it's so much easier to be a truck driver now. With the ELDs, that makes logbooks so easy. You don't have to really understand much of anything about the hours of service. Is there a truck on the shoulder? I can't see. Yeah, I think there's a truck on the shoulder. Yeah, there is. Well, now this four-wheeler that just passed me is slowed down. This truck just passed me. I'm using this thing called a cruise control. My speed has not changed. I'm doing 65. They passed me going 70. Now they're doing 60. They did not take that exit. I thought maybe they were going slow because they had an exit coming up. They did not take that exit. What is wrong with people? I don't understand. This is one of the most dangerous jobs in the world because of how dumb people are. And not just dumb, aggressive. "10 miles to go." But yeah, I think that recruiters in the trucking industry are used to having a lot of difficulty getting people with CDLs to work for their company, and then they usually have retention issues where people are just flat out quitting the industry within a few months of getting in. The numbers for the people who were quitting the industry within the first year used to be something crazy, like 90%. 90% of people who got CDLs and got into trucking quit the trucking industry within like their first year. So recruiters could never get enough people. So they were just trying to bring in as many people as they possibly could. And I don't think we have turnover that bad anymore. I'm sure that the turnover is still bad because this job sucks. But there are major things that used to be big problems on why people would quit the industry. They would get really frustrated with the manual transmission. Maybe they barely learned enough to pass the CDL test with the manual. And then they drove a mountain for their first time and it scared the hell out of them in a manual transmission. And they were just like, I'm not doing this anymore. There were people that was a very common thing. Trying to climb a mountain for the first time in a manual transmission and go down a mountain, that is terrifying. And then the GPS issue, no GPS, just trying to navigate your way across the country. Navigating on the interstates isn't real bad, but like navigating through LA or Dallas on the interstates can be a nightmare without GPS. But what's really hard without a GPS is trying to find a customer address. Like once you get to the city, then you're trying to find where the customer's at. And you don't have like a local city map. You're just having to rely on turn-by-turn directions, trying to figure out where in the hell this place is at. A lot of people would quit over that. And then the hours of service, trying to manage your logbook. A lot of people had difficulty doing that. And they would either quit, or they would get into a bunch of accidents and get fired, or they would get a bunch of violations and get fired. Getting into accidents from getting lost is really, really common. So the GPS issue led to a lot of accidents. People would get into areas where it was difficult to get out, and they get lost, and they'd end up like running over signs and doing all kinds of stuff, get into a bunch of accidents. So I think that's part of the problem as to why we have so many trucks today, is because it's a lot easier to become a truck driver, and we don't have anywhere near the turnover that we used to have. So we're getting more people into the industry, and we're not losing as many of those new people as we used to. And this is crazy because like 10 years ago, they were talking about the trucking industry dying because it's not a job that Gen Zers want to do. And so it was a job that was mainly just a bunch of old guys. And it was a very like top heavy profession with age. There weren't very many young people in it. And I think that's changed. I don't think that's the case. There's like at the truck stops, almost everyone I see is young. It's a bunch of people in like their 20s. There's a lot of things that have changed about the trucking industry. And there are people that have been out of the industry that still think the industry operates the way it used to like 10, 20 years ago. Like I remember not too long ago, just a couple of years ago, somebody on the truckers subreddit made a post and they were like, why do so many truck drivers smoke? I was like, what are you talking about? So this is the exit that Google wants me to take. This is not the exit I'm taking. I'm taking the next exit. The next exit is where the TA is at, and it's also the entrance to the industrial park. So if I take this exit, I've got to drive through town, whereas if I take the next exit, then I just pull straight into the industrial park. Whoa, buddy. Swerving all over. Get back in your damn lane. He just kept going back and forth, and he's still doing it. He just kept going back and forth in their lane as they were passing me. Thought they were going to hit me. I'm doing 65 and the speed limit is 75, so they may not be speeding, but that felt like they were going faster than 10 miles an hour faster than me. that felt more like about 15.
exit 503 to Wilson Road.
All right. This is my exit. We're almost there, man. I don't see the sign for the TA.
Take exit 503.
This better be the right exit. I thought it was just
Continue for 3/4 of a mile.
one exit down. Maybe I should have mapped it out. There's no one behind me. All right, there it is. Okay, I see the TA over on the right. Now I'm not so worried. I'm like, man, was it maybe one more exit down? I was fairly certain it was the next exit. Yeah, the TA is over on the right. It's TA Express.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Wilson Road.
It's a fairly new TA, but it's been here for like 5 years, so I don't know exactly how new it is. Like, if something's like less than 20 years old, I think it's new. So, I'm just getting old. My perspective of new has changed. Maybe this isn't a TA Express. It looks like a regular TA Travel Center. I thought it was an express. Taking this slow because there's a
In
big,
quarter mile, turn left onto Airport Road.
big hump in the road. What I'll probably do is when I get there, I'll pause the video and wait until after I inspect the trailer to let you know if there's going to be any drama with the trailer. And then I'll end the video after, I give you a wrap up of, oh man, this is some bumpy, this is some rough. All right, left is the on-ramp to the interstate. We don't want to do that. We're just going to go straight through. Let's roll this stop sign. And then I think there's a sign that says no trucks. Turn on our brights here.
Turn left onto Airport Road.
No trucks, 35 miles per hour. So you make a left-hand turn and you go into the industrial park, and it's a divided road. And last time I drove through here,
Continue on Airport Road for 2 miles.
there was somebody stealing a truck. Turn high beams back on. Just up here a little ways, there was a white, like Z71 Chevy. Or is it GMC that makes a Z71? I just remember it was a newer looking, really nice white truck that said Z71 on it. And it was parked over on the right shoulder over here, further down. And there was an old like 90s Dodge pickup that was beat up that was circling around here that had dropped off this blonde-headed shaggy guy. It was right in this area, right around here. And the shaggy guy had a Slim Jim. He tried to hide it as I drove by, and he did one of those things where he was like looking up in the air, whistling. You know, he didn't do exactly that, but that's like basically what he did when I was driving by. He was like acting like he wasn't doing anything. And he was checking in the windows to make sure there wasn't anybody in the truck, and he was using a Slim Jim to try to unlock the door. I called the cops. I'm not sure if they got there before they managed to steal the truck, but I'm guessing if the truck was on the side of the road like that, that it was having some kind of mechanical issue. So it probably would have taken them a while to get it started. So I suspect that they were going to try to start it to steal it, but if they couldn't get it started, they'd probably just steal everything out of it that they could. So I hope the cops got there before they started ripping the dash apart and tearing everything up to steal stuff. Oh, left lane is going left turn only. It's a little bit longer coming in from this side, but it's nicer than driving through town. Like, there's nothing out here versus driving through town. Driving through town, from what I remember, is not that bad. I've only ever driven through town one time. Once I realized that I could go in and out this way, I've never driven through town again. All right, we're getting kind of close. Left-hand turn coming up.
In a quarter mile, turn left onto Skyline
This is
Drive.
Maddox that we're driving by right now. All right. That is not it. I think that's it right there.
Take the next left onto Skyline Drive.
There's not even a street sign or anything here.
In 1,000 feet, your destination will be on the left.
All right, the lot looks like, is the gate open? If the gate is open, then I am going to park the trailer inside. Oh, hells yeah. It's a lot easier to park inside than
Your
outside.
destination is on the left.
They are not supposed to be open right now, but for whatever reason, the gate's open. This could just mean that there's like one person here doing something. I've had this happen before where the gate was open like this, and I was parking a trailer, and a guy comes up and he's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm going to be locking that gate in like 15 minutes. I was like, "That's cool. I'm just dropping this trailer. I'll be out of here in 5 or 10 minutes." Come on. Where's a spot? Where's a spot? Where's a spot? Is that a spot? It looks like a spot. All right, we got a spot. All right, I'm going to pause this because I've got to slide tandems and open doors. Gotta put the headset on. Okay, so I dropped the empty trailer, slid the tandems, opened the doors. Now I have to go look through the trailers to find the paperwork. So pause this again while I go do that. All right, we're all hooked up and ready to roll. Yes, there was drama. It's 10:44 p.m. now. So if I get out of here in the next 15 minutes, then I think I'm on schedule. Just a second here. Let me check my hours of service. So I have 4 hours and 16 minutes of drive time and 4 hours and 29 minutes of on duty. So I have a 13-minute difference. It's cutting it real close. And I still need to plot a course here. Let me pause this while I put in my map thing, and then I need to do this real quick. All right, we're no longer in a rush. There's no way I can make it remotely close to Memphis. Memphis was 311 miles away. I only have 4 hours, so it would have taken me over 5 hours to make it to Memphis. And I looked along the route for Loves and TA Petros so that I could get the trailer worked on. And basically there's no TA Petro in between Memphis and Dallas unless I get it done here in town. I don't want to get it done here in town because I want to get the hell out of town in the middle of the night. I don't want to drive during the day. I want to get out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So once you get out of Fort Worth, once you get west of Fort Worth, there are no TA Petros on 287, at least as far as Memphis. The only thing that there are Loves, and there's a Loves in Rome, there's a Loves in Vernon, and then there's a Loves in Memphis. I could make the Loves in Vernon. That would be really close to my 4 hours, but I should have enough spare time that I could make it to Vernon. But the Vernon Loves only has like 10 parking spots. And I don't want to show up there in the middle of the night and not be able to find a place to park. And I don't want to be driving around looking for parking because I'm not going to have any spare time when I get to Vernon. Wherever I stop at has to have parking. I'm not going to have time to drive around looking for a parking spot. So that takes Vernon out of it. I could just stop some random place and then deal with putting the trailer in the shop tomorrow. But what I've decided to do is stop at that Loves in Rome, where my USA truck trainer, that's where he prefers to put, stuff in the shop to get them worked on. So I'm going to drive to Rome, RHOME, Texas. That's not very far west of Fort Worth. That's where I'm going to stop tonight. It's only about 90 miles away, an hour and a half. I don't know if they're open 24 hours. A lot of these truck stops, their shops have gone to limited hours because they just can't find enough people to staff 24 hours a day. And, they've had a lot less work. Truck drivers are struggling, so they're getting a lot less stuff repaired. They're only putting things in the shop when they absolutely have to. When truck drivers are doing really well, they'll put things in the shop. They'll be, if they think something's wrong, hey, I'm hearing a weird noise. Can you take a look at it and see what you can figure out? When they've got plenty of money, that's the kind of stuff they do. They put their trucks in the shop for things that aren't even really an issue. But when money gets tight, they only put it in the shop if they absolutely have to. So shops aren't getting anywhere near as much work as they normally do. So that's the reason a lot of them aren't running 24 hours a day. But anyway, now I have plenty of time. So I'm just about to start making my way to Rome. So what's wrong with the trailer? There's one definite issue with the trailer, and then there's one possible issue with the trailer. So the definite issue is, take a guess, what did I say is the most common thing that I put Landstar trailers in the shop for? ABS light. This thing just had a DOT inspection done on April 2nd in Leper, Michigan. And not only do truck drivers not know how to inspect the ABS light, mechanics that are DOT certified don't know how to inspect the ABS lights, and a lot of the DOT inspectors don't know how to inspect the ABS lights. I don't think I've ever seen anyone inspect the ABS light. I've had mechanics, because I put these trailers in the shop so often for the ABS light, I've had mechanics ask me how I test the light. because they don't know how to test to see if the light is working. And I have to explain to them how to test to see if the light is functional. All right, I'm going to go and clean off the windshield. Let me get out in front of the truck. I'll do a dance for you. No, I'm not really going to do a dance. Here's my water bottle with soap in it. It doesn't have very much soap in it, but man, it is absolutely, just a second here, I got to get it to where it's spraying real far. It is absolutely amazing for cleaning off the windshield, at least in comparison to the windshield washer fluid. And it's just water. I keep jugs of water in the truck, and I also keep a bottle of Dawn dishwashing liquid. So it's just water, and I put not very much, but a little bit of soap in it. And I just spray it on there, get it nice and soaking wet, and let it sit there for a minute. And then I'll run the wipers. And sometimes I'll do it 2 or 3 times, but it usually gets the windshield really clean. Oh yeah. Just that one, like, man, it really cleaned off the windshield. Huge difference. Let's run the regular wipers, which are mainly water. Get some of the soap off. I probably need to replace the wiper blades. I had all kinds of people tell me, oh, you know, use Rain-X wipers, use Bosch wipers. Bosch is the one that people really recommend for trucks. I tried Rain-X, I tried Bosch. They are both absolute garbage. Bosch is the worst wipers I've ever had on the truck. I had to replace those things within like 3 months. These are some cheap brand that I don't, let me actually look and see what brand they are, because I have a whole bunch of spares. They are Anco, A-N-C-O, 24-inch blades. I bought them for like, I want to say they were like $6 a piece on Amazon. And I didn't buy a whole bunch of them. I don't know how many exactly I have in here, but I have at least one spare set, maybe 2. These things have been on the truck for like 2 or 3 years, and they still work really well. These are like 2 or 3 year old wipers. I highly recommend Anco. Bosch wiper blades, they were insane, like $20 a blade. It's like $40+ for a set. Rain-X was a lot cheaper, but they were also just, Bosch and Rain-X both just absolute garbage. So anyway, back to the trailer. The ABS light does not work. I think it's just the light out. I don't think it's an actual ABS issue, because whenever I hooked up to the trailer, my ABS indicator came on, which is normal for a trailer that's been setting, telling me the ABS is not working. But whenever I moved the trailer, the ABS light went off. That's my ABS indicator on my dash. The light on the trailer that indicates whether the ABS is working or not is not coming on at all. So the ABS, I think it's just the ABS light that's out, not the ABS that's not working. But you can't tell for 100% certainty with the ABS light out, which is why you can get multiple tickets by having an ABS light out. You can get a light out ticket, and you can get an ABS non-functional ticket, because it's impossible to tell whether or not the ABS is functioning with that light out. So they have to assume that your ABS is not working. So that's 2 tickets if your ABS light is out, or 2 violations. The other issue is something that I'm not sure if it is an issue. I'm going to have to ask the mechanic. I've never had a trailer do this, but whenever I set the brakes on the trailer, it just completely dumps the airbags. And I had issues sliding the tandems because of that. What I had to do to slide the tandems, because whenever it was dumping the airbags, it just um, the slide rail was it was getting like misaligned, and it just wasn't sliding. So I had to have the brakes released, have the airbags inflated, and then I had to use my what's known as a Johnson bar, my trailer brakes. I have a separate braking system just for the trailer. I had to use the trailer brakes to be able to slide the tandems. I tried for like 15 minutes to slide the tandems using the regular spring brakes, the emergency brakes, and it would not slide. I was just dragging the trailer. The wheels were turning. I was having to exert so much force, and it wasn't moving. So I was able to get it to slide using the Johnson bar. So I've never had a trailer that dumped the airbags like that as soon as you set the brakes. But it just like immediately dumps the airbags as soon as you set the brakes. Just completely evacuates the air system, and the trailer just sets down on the tires, like just a couple of inches from the tires. Never had a trailer do that. So I'm going to ask the mechanics if there's some part that's not operating correctly, and have them replace that as well. I'm not confident that a Love's mechanic's really going to understand that, but who knows? Maybe I'll get a good mechanic that will, know what's going on. But that's what's going on with me, and now I'm going to drive to Rome, Texas. They have a pretty decent sized parking lot for a Love's. And if they're open 24 hours a day, then I'll get this worked on tonight. If not, then I'll get it worked on when I wake up tomorrow. But anyway, that's what's going on with me. I'm going to end the video there. Hope you're having a great week. Bye.